The air in the council chamber tasted of fear and metal. 47 alien species sat around the massive black table, their voices mixing into a sound like breaking glass. Some had tentacles that moved like angry snakes. Others had crystal bodies that made sharp music when they were upset. A few looked almost like giant insects, clicking and buzzing at each other. They were all scared. Ambassador Jin Park sat quietly in his simple black chair. His hands were folded on the table. His face showed nothing. While the aliens around him shouted and waved their arms, claws, and tentacles, Jin just watched. 12 systems are dead. The Zephyrian Chancellor's purple tentacles slapped the table. 12 whole star systems. Billions of people turned into walking corpses in just hours. The crystalline being next to him made a sound like a broken bell. The Veltar plague spreads faster than our ships can run. Our people they just stopped thinking. They walk around like empty shells. Jin nodded once. He had heard this story many times in the past 6 months. The plague was simple and terrible. It moved from person to person through the air. Once someone breathed it in, they had maybe 4 hours before their mind went blank. They would still walk and move, but there was nothing left inside, no thoughts, no feelings, just empty bodies that did nothing but wander around. We need a solution. A 4-armed creature with red scales pounded the table with all his fists. This was High Counselor Vexthani, leader of the Dominion Empire. His 6 yellow eyes all focused on Jin. Human, your people have been sitting in these meetings for half a year. All you do is say, that won't work to every idea we have. Jin looked at the angry alien. Because none of your ideas will work. The room got very quiet. Then it got very loud. How dare you? Vexthani stood up. He was twice as tall as Jin and 4 times as wide. We have offered you everything. Our best technology, rare metals from the center of the galaxy. We even said we would give you whole planets. And what did the humans say? The insect-like queen of the hive clicked her mouth. Parts, nothing useful. Jin picked up his small tablet and looked at it. The screen showed simple words and numbers, nothing fancy. Your technology is 400 years behind what we use every day. The metals you call rare, we make them in our labs. The planets you want to give us? He looked up at the angry faces around him. We don't want more planets. This made the aliens even more upset. The crystal beings started making sounds like wind chimes in a storm. The tentacled ones changed colors rapidly. The insect queen's wings buzzed so fast they became a blur. No one in the history of the galaxy had ever said no to free planets. This is impossible, whispered the small gray creature from the Academic Republic. Every species wants to grow bigger. Every species wants more space, more resources, more power. Not us, Jin said. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to a tall, thin being with blue skin and too many arms. Perhaps the humans simply don't understand how bad things are. Let me explain again. The blue alien stood and waved his hands. Pictures appeared in the air above the table. They showed planets that had once been green and full of life. Now they were gray and empty. Cities that had once been bright with lights were dark and silent. The plague started in the Outer Rim, the alien said. We thought it was just a local problem. Some kind of disease that would burn itself out, but it didn't stop. It jumped from planet to planet, system to system. Our best doctors can't cure it. Our best scientists can't even slow it down. More pictures appeared. These showed the infected people. They looked normal at first glance, but their eyes were empty. They moved slowly, like sleepwalkers. They didn't respond to their names or recognize their families. We tried everything, the blue alien continued. Quarantine didn't work. The disease somehow got through our blockades. We tried medicine, radiation, even freezing whole cities. Nothing helped. Jin looked at the pictures without emotion. He had seen them before. His government had files full of such images. We've lost contact with 12 star systems, Vexthani sighed, his voice getting quieter. That's over 300 billion people. They're not dead, but they're not alive either. And the plague keeps spreading. The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the air recyclers. Every alien. I was on Jin, waiting for him to speak. How long before it reaches your home worlds? Jin asked. 6 months, the crystal being chimed sadly. Maybe less. And you want to know what we think you should do. We want you to help us. Vrexthani slammed his fists down again. Stop giving us riddles. Stop telling us our ideas won't work. Give us something useful. Jin stood up slowly. He was not very tall, especially compared to the aliens around him. His clothes were simple, a black suit that could have come from any store on Earth. His hair was neat and short. He looked like someone you might see on a bus or in an office building, but when he spoke, every alien in the room listened. The Veltar plague is not a natural disease, he said. It was made by someone. Someone who wanted to stop species from spreading across the galaxy. The aliens looked at each other with shock and fear. The plague targets species that grow too fast, that take too much, that fight too often for new territory. Jin's voice was calm and steady. It's a weapon designed to stop exactly what all of you have been doing for thousands of years. How do you know this? The Academic Republic's leader whispered. Jin looked at his tablet again. On the screen were numbers and charts that none of the aliens could read. Because we've been watching, and we know how to stop it. The room exploded with noise. Everyone was talking at once, asking questions, making demands. But Jin held up one hand, and somehow they all became quiet. But, he said, you're not going to like what it costs. High Counselor Vrexthani stood up so fast his chair fell backward. His forearms spread wide like he was trying to grab the whole room. His 6 eyes burned with anger as he looked down at the small human. You think this is a game? He roared. You sit here for 6 months, listening to us beg for help while billions die, and now you say you know how to fix everything? But we won't like the cost? Jin Park did not move. He did not even blink. He just looked up at the massive alien with the same calm expression he had worn all day, all week, all 6 months. Counselor, Jin said quietly, please sit down. Something in the human's voice made Vrexthani pause. It was not fear or anger or excitement. It was the tone someone uses when they are very, very sure of themselves. The big alien looked around the room at the other delegates, then slowly sat back down. Good, Jin said. He picked up his tablet and touched the screen. Now, before we talk about costs, let me clear up some confusion. The air above the table began to glow. Pictures appeared, but they were not like the fuzzy images the aliens used. These were so clear and detailed they looked real. They showed star maps, ship designs, and charts covered in numbers. 6 months ago, when I first came to this council, many of you tried to impress me with offers. Jin touched his screen again. The pictures changed to show alien weapons and ships. The Zephyrian Chancellor offered me quantum disruptors that could destroy a moon. The purple tentacled alien nodded proudly. The most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Yes, Jin agreed. Very impressive. Unfortunately, we developed better weapons about 400 years ago. He touched the screen. The pictures changed to show human ships. They look simple and plain compared to the colorful alien vessels. Our basic patrol ships carry weapons that could destroy a planet. The aliens all started talking at once. The crystal beings made sounds like breaking glass. The insect queen's wings buzzed angrily. Vrexthani slammed his fists on the table. Impossible, he shouted. We would have seen these super weapons. Our spies watch every human world. Jin smiled for the first time since the meeting began. It was not a happy smile. Counselor, your spies are very good. We know exactly where all 47 of them are on Earth right now. We've been feeding them the information we want you to have. This made the room go completely quiet. Even the air recyclers seemed to stop humming. The small gray alien from the Academic Republic leaned forward. Are you saying you've been lying? To us? Not lying, Jin corrected. Just not telling you everything? There's a difference. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to Dr. Yuna Kim, Jin's science advisor. She had been sitting so quietly that most of the aliens had forgotten she was there. She was a small woman with short black hair and thick glasses, May I show them the resource comparison? She asked Jin. Jin nodded. Dr. Kim took out her own tablet. The pictures above the table changed again. Now they showed mining operations and factory ships. 3 hours ago, Dr. Kim said in perfect galactic standard language, the Archelian trade minister offered us rare earth metals from the galactic core. These metals are supposed to be worth more than the entire gross product of most star systems. The scaly trade minister nodded eagerly. Yes, we offer you enough metal to build 1,000 starships. That's very generous, Dr. Kim said politely. But last Tuesday, our automated mining systems in the asteroid belt produced the same amount. Of those metals, we do this every week. The trade minister's scales turned from green to pale yellow. This was the Archelian color for shock. Furthermore, Dr. Kim continued, the territory you offered us yesterday consists of 12 star systems in the outer rim. You said it was a gift worth more than anything in galactic history. It is, Vrexthani protested. 12 whole systems. Hundreds of planets. Yes, Dr. Kim agreed. It would be impressive if we needed more territory. But humans already control more space than the rest of the galaxy combined. Now every alien in the room was making noise. They clicked, buzzed, chimed, and roared all at the same time. The sound was so loud that Jin had to put his fingers in his ears. Quiet, he said. His voice was not much louder than normal, but somehow it cut through all the noise like a knife. Everyone stopped talking. How? Whispered the crystal being. How do you control more space than all of us together? We have maps. We know where every human colony is. Jin looked at Dr. Kim. She nodded and touched her tablet again. The pictures changed to show a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Little lights showed where different species had their territories. The human space looked small compared to the others. This is what we let you see, Dr. Kim explained. But this is what we actually control. She touched the screen again. The map exploded with new lights. Human territory spread out like a spider web, connecting every corner of the galaxy. They had bases and systems the aliens thought were empty. They had mining operations in asteroid fields no one else knew existed. They had research stations in places so dangerous that no alien ship had ever gone there. Impossible, Vrexthani breathed. His 6 eyes were wide with disbelief. Our long-range scouts would have found these bases. Your scouts are very brave, Jin said. But they can only see what we allow them to see. The Hive Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly. In her species, this meant extreme agitation. Are you saying humans have been watching us? All of us? For how long? Jin looked around the table at all the frightened alien faces. Since before most of your species learned to build spaceships. Dr. Kim put away her tablet. We've been out here for a long time. We've seen the rise and fall of 12 major galactic civilizations. We've watched species discover fire, invent writing, build their first rockets, and spread across the stars. And we've seen what always happens next, Jin added quietly. They grow too fast. They take too much. They fight over resources and territory until they destroy themselves or get destroyed by something else. The Academic Republic's representative raised one small hand. Are you saying you've seen this plague before? Not this exact plague, Jin replied, but things like it. Weapons designed to stop species that expand too aggressively. Some are diseases, some are machine swarms, some are worse than that. Who makes these weapons? The crystal being chimed FEARFULY. Jin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was very soft. Species that learn too late what happens. When you grow too fast, they build these weapons as warnings for whoever comes after them. Dr. Kim nodded sadly. The Veltar plague is a message. It's saying stop expanding or die. Vrexthani leaned forward. His anger was gone, replaced by something that looked like fear. And you know how to stop it? Yes, Jin said simply. Then tell us, the Zephyrian Chancellor demanded. What do? We have to do? Jin stood up slowly. He looked around the table at all the desperate alien faces. Leaders of mighty, Empires that ruled thousands of worlds were looking at him like children asking their parents to save them from the dark. That, he said, is where we need to talk about the cost. Jin Park walked slowly around the black table. His footsteps were the only sound in the chamber. 47 alien species watched him move, their eyes following his every step like prey. Animals watching a predator, he stopped behind his chair and placed both hands on its back. The Veltar plague is not random, he said. It has rules. It targets specific types of behavior. Dr. Yuna Kim stood up and activated her tablet. The air above the table filled with floating images again. These showed the spread of the plague. Across the galaxy, with red dots marking infected systems and yellow dots showing where it was heading next. Look at the pattern, Dr. Kim said. The plague always hits the most aggressive species first. The ones that expand fastest. The ones that take the most resources and build the biggest armies. The Zephyrian Chancellor's tentacles curled nervously. But that's how civilizations grow. That's how we survive. Is it? Jin asked. He pointed to the map. The plague started in Dominion space. Vrexthani, your empire has conquered more systems in the last century than any other species in galactic history. The four-armed aliens. Scales turned dark red. We are strong. We take what we need. And then it jumped to the hive worlds, Jin continued, pointing to another cluster of red dots. The insects that strip mine entire planets in months. The hive queen's wings buzzed angrily. We feed our children. We must expand or starve. Then the Archelian Trade Federation, Jin went on. The species that turns every world they touch into a factory. One by one, Jin pointed to each infected area on the map. Every single one belonged to a species known for rapid expansion, resource consumption, or military aggression. The plague is a test, Dr. Kim explained. And every aggressive species fails it. The small gray alien from the Academic Republic looked confused. But our worlds are still clean. We're not aggressive. We just study and learn. Exactly, Jin said. Your species explores knowledge, not territory. You share discoveries instead of hoarding resources. The plague leaves you alone. The crystal being chimed hopefully. Then we are safe too. We are peaceful. Dr. Kim shook her head sadly. No, your people are peaceful, but your government just signed a treaty with the Dominion Empire to start military expansion. The plague will reach your worlds within the month. The crystal being's light dimmed to almost nothing. Jin walked back to his seat but did not sit down. The plague is smart. It can tell the difference between a species that might change and a species that won't, most of you. He looked around the room. Most of you will never change. This is impossible, Vrexthani roared. You're telling us to stop being what we are? No, Jin said calmly. I'm telling you what the price is for the cure. The room became very quiet again. Every alien leaned forward, waiting to hear what the humans wanted. Jin picked up his tablet and read from it like he was reading a shopping list. Complete demilitarization of all spacefaring vessels. No more warships. No more weapons platforms. No more battle stations. The aliens started to protest, but Jin held up his hand. Dissolution of all territorial claims beyond your home star systems. Every species gets to keep their original world and maybe one or two colonies. Everything else gets returned to neutral space. Now the protests were getting louder. Jin raised his voice slightly. Establishment of a resource-sharing cooperative to replace your current economic systems. No more taking what you want. No more conquest-based expansion. You share what you have and work together. Vrexthani stood up so fast his chair cracked under the pressure. You're asking us to destroy our entire civilization. We're asking you to evolve, Dr. Kim said quietly. This is madness. The Hive Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly. My people have been expanding for 10,000 years. It's our nature. Then change your nature, Jin replied, or die. The Archelian Trade Minister's scales turned bright orange with anger. You have no right to make these demands. Who made you the judges of the galaxy? Jin looked at him with those calm, steady eyes. The same people who made the plague. The same people who came before you and learned these lessons the hard way. You're bluffing, Vrexthani said, but his voice was not as confident as before. You're humans, you're a minor species. You can't possibly have this kind of power, Dr. Kim smiled sadly. Counselor, we're not a minor species. We never were. We just let you think we were. She touched her tablet again. The map changed to show human space as it really was. The web of bases and colonies and mining operations stretched across the entire galaxy. But now new information appeared, production numbers, fleet sizes, population counts. The aliens stared at the numbers in shock. 50 billion humans, Dr. Kim read aloud. Not 12 billion like we told you. 300,000 ships, not the few hundred you've seen. Industrial capacity that produces more in a day than most of your civilizations make in a year. Why? Whispered the crystal being. Why hide all this? Jin sat down finally. Because we hoped you would learn on your own. We hoped that, at least, some of you would figure out how to grow without destroying everything around you. We watched for thousands of years, Dr. Kim added. We saw species after species make the same mistakes. Expand too fast. Take too much. Fight over scraps while ignoring the plenty that cooperation could bring. And every time, Jin said, they eventually triggered something like the Veltar Plague. A weapon left behind by someone who learned too late. The academic republics. Representative raised his small hand again. How many species have died this way? Hundreds, Jin answered. Maybe thousands. The galaxy is full of dead worlds and empty cities. All because no one could learn to stop growing before it was too late. Vrexthani slumped in his chair. His anger was gone, replaced by something that looked like despair. And you want us to just give up? Give up everything we've built? We want you to live, Dr. Kim said gently. But you can only live if you change. The Zephyrian Chancellor's tentacles moved slowly, like he was very tired. What if we can't? What if our people refuse? Jin looked around the table at all the defeated alien faces. Then in 6 months, when the plague reaches your homeworlds, you'll understand why the species before you built it. You have the cure, a Hive Queen said. It was not a question. We have the cure, Jin confirmed. And you'll only give it to us if we agree to destroy our empires. We'll give it to you if you agree to save your people. The crystal being's light flickered weakly. How long do we have to decide? Jin looked at his watch. It was a simple Earth timepiece, the kind anyone could buy in a store. 24 hours. 24 hours? Vrexthani exploded. You expect us to remake our entire civilization in one day? No, Jin said. I expect you to decide if your civilization is worth saving. The remaking will take longer. Dr. Kim packed up her tablet and stood. We'll be in our quarters if you need to ask questions, but the terms are not negotiable. Jin stood as well. Counselor Vrexthani, you said we humans were a minor species. You were wrong about that. But you were right about one thing. What? Jin walked toward the door. We don't understand how you can value power more than survival. We never will. The humans left the chamber. Behind them, 47 species sat in silence. Staring at the empty space where their last hope had been sitting, the clock on the wall began counting down. 24 hours and ticking? The council chamber had become a war zone of words. For 18 hours straight, the alien delegates had argued, shouted, pleaded, and threatened. Some had not slept. Others had not eaten. All of them looked like they were falling apart. Hi! Counselor Vrexthani paced back and forth behind his broken chair. His forearms moved wildly as he spoke to anyone who would listen. 5,000 years, he kept saying. My people have ruled the Eastern Spiral for 5,000 years. You cannot ask us to throw that away. The Zephyrian Chancellor's tentacles had turned a sickly gray color. Our entire culture is built on expansion. Our children learn navigation before they learn to walk. What do we tell them? That their whole way of life is wrong. We tell them the truth, said the small gray alien from the Academic Republic. His name was Professor Khan, and he was one of the few delegates who seemed calm. We tell them that survival is more important than tradition. Easy words from someone whose species never built an empire, the Hive Queen clicked angrily. Her wings had been buzzing for hours and the sound was driving everyone crazy. You academics sit in your libraries while we do the hard work of civilization. The hard work of destruction, you mean? Professor Khan replied quietly. This made the Hive Queen even angrier. She stood up on her 6 legs and pointed a claw at him. My people turn dead rocks into living worlds. We build cities that house billions. We create. You consume, the crystal being chimed sadly. We have seen your worlds. Nothing grows there except your buildings. And what do your people do? The Hive Queen snapped. You sing pretty songs and make light shows. Very useful when planets need to be terraformed. The crystal being dimmed even more. We preserve beauty. We keep knowledge safe. We remember things that others forget. Which is why the plague hasn't touched you yet, Professor Khan pointed out. The humans were right. The plague targets aggressive expansion. Vexthani stopped pacing and slammed all 4 fists on the table. I'm tired of hearing about how right the humans are. They sit in their hidden bases and watch us struggle while billions die. Where is their compassion? Where is their honor? Maybe they used up their compassion watching hundreds of species make the same mistakes, Professor Khan suggested. Or maybe they're the ones who created the plague. The Arkelian trade minister had been quiet for hours, but now he stood up with his scales bright red. Think about it. They have all this hidden technology. They've been watching us for thousands of years. They know exactly how the plague works. Isn't it convenient that they have the cure? This made several other aliens start talking at once. The idea spread through the room like fire. It makes sense, the Zephyrian Chancellor said, his tentacles writhing. They want to destroy our empires, so they release a weapon that forces us to choose between survival and our way of life. Humans are sneaky, the Hive Queen agreed. They pretend to be weak while building secret fleets. They could have made this plague. Vexthani's 6 eyes lit up with anger and hope. Yes, that's it. They created this weapon to force us to submit to them. But wait, Professor Khan said. If they wanted to rule us, why not just attack? The humans showed us their real military power. They could have conquered the galaxy long ago. Maybe they're too weak for direct conquest, the trade minister suggested. So they use biological warfare instead. Or maybe, the crystal being chimed quietly, they're telling the truth. The room went silent for a moment. Then everyone started arguing again. The debate went in circles. Some aliens wanted to accept the human terms. Others wanted to fight. A few suggested trying to steal the cure. Many just wanted to go home and pretend none of this was happening. As the hours passed, the arguments got more desperate. The Zephyrian Chancellor offered to sacrifice half his territory if the humans would lower their demands. The Hive Queen suggested enslaving her own people to meet human requirements for peaceful behavior. The Arkelians proposed selling their entire civilization to buy more time. But no one wanted to give up their empire completely. At R20, something changed. A young Arkelian aide ran into the chamber with a message pad. She whispered something to the trade minister. His scales went from red to white in seconds. What is it? Vexthani demanded. The trade minister's voice was shaky. Long-range scouts have detected the plague in the Zarian system? It's moving faster than our projections. Professor Khan pulled out his calculator. Zarian is only 6 jumps from the core worlds. If it's moving faster... 3 months, the trade minister whispered, maybe less. The room became very quiet. 3 months was not enough time to evacuate whole planets. 3 months was barely enough time to say goodbye. We have to accept their terms, the crystal being said. We have no choice. No, Vexthani roared. I will not destroy 5,000 years of Dominion history for 3 more months of life. But if we don't, Professor Khan started. If we don't, we die as we lived. Vexthani's voice filled the chamber. Free, proud, masters of our own fate. Masters of our own extinction, the crystal being replied sadly. The Hive Queen's wings buzzed louder. The counselor is right. Better. To die as warriors than live as slaves. But our children, the Zephyrian Chancellor began. Our children will remember that we chose honor over survival, Vexthani declared. Professor Khan stood up slowly. He was much smaller than the other delegates, but his voice carried clearly. I am going to tell you all a story, he said. It is about a species called the Makers. We don't have time for stories, the trade minister snapped. We have time for this one, Professor Khan said firmly. The Makers lived 50,000 years ago. They built an empire that covered half the galaxy. They were proud, warlike, and very advanced. When a plague like this one hit their worlds, they chose honor over survival. The room became quiet again. Where are the Makers now? Professor Khan asked. They're dust. Ancient ruins on dead worlds. And do you know what we found in those ruins? Messages? Warning messages to anyone who came after them. Messages that said, learn from our mistakes. Choose life over pride. You think the Makers built the Veltar plague? The crystal being asked? I think the Makers were one of many species who faced this choice, and I think they all chose wrong. Vexthania's scales were now dark purple with rage. You want us to betray everything we are. I want us to become something. Better, Professor Khan replied. Better? The Hive Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly. You mean weaker? I mean alive. Just then, the door to the chamber opened. Jin Park and Dr. Yuna Kim walked in quietly. They looked exactly the same as when they had left 18 hours earlier. Not tired, not worried, just calm and patient. Time's up, Jin said simply. Vexthani turned to face the humans. His 6 eyes burned with anger and desperation. We need more time. You can't expect us to make such a huge decision in just one day. You've had 6 months, Dr. Kim pointed out, and thousands of years before that to learn these lessons on. Your own. We'll give you anything else. The Zephyrian Chancellor pleaded. Our technology, our resources, our loyalty. Just not our empires. Jin looked around the table at all the desperate alien faces. So you've made your choice. Wait, Professor Khan stood up. Some of us accept your terms. The Academic Republic agrees to all your conditions. And us, the crystal being chimed. We choose survival. But Vexthani stepped forward, blocking their view of the humans. The Galactic Council makes decisions together. A few small species cannot speak for all of us. Actually, Jin said quietly, they can speak for themselves, but it doesn't matter. What do you mean? Professor Khan asked. Dr. Kim looked sad as. She answered, the plague doesn't work on individual species. It works on galactic civilization as a whole. As long as the major empires continue their aggressive expansion, the plague will keep spreading, even to peaceful species. That's not fair, the crystal being protested. No, Jin agreed. It's not. But that's how the weapon works. It forces the entire galaxy to change, or the entire galaxy dies. Vexthani's voice was a mixture of rage and desperation. Then give us the cure anyway. Show some mercy. Jin looked at the big alien for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was very quiet. Counselor, my species learned a long time ago that some kinds of mercy are actually cruelty. If we save you without change, you'll just trigger the next weapon, and the next, and the next. There are more? The trade minister whispered. There are always more, Dr. Kim said sadly. Left behind by species who learned too late. Jin picked up his tablet and put it in his pocket. You have chosen your empires over your people. That is your right. Doctor. Kim gathered her things as well. We're sorry it ended this way. The 2 humans walked toward the door. Behind them, the alien delegates began to realize what was happening. Where are you going? Vexthani called out. Jin paused at the threshold. Home. You can't just leave. The Hive Queen buzzed frantically. Yes, Jin said quietly. We can. And with that, the humans walked out of the chamber, leaving 47 species alone with their choice. The sound of the humans' footsteps echoed in the hallway outside the council chamber. Each step seemed to count down the seconds until everything would end. Inside the chamber, 47 alien species sat in complete silence, staring at the Empty doorway. High Counselor Rexthani was the first to move. He jumped up from his broken chair and ran toward the door, his forearms reaching out like he could grab the humans and pull them back. "Wait," he shouted. "We can discuss this more. There has to be another way." But the humans were already gone. The hallway was empty except for the echo of Rexthania's voice bouncing off the metal walls. "They're bluffing," the Arkelian trade minister said, but his voice was shaky. "They have to be bluffing. No one would just walk away from negotiations like this." Professor Khan pulled out his communication device and tried to contact the human quarters. The screen showed only static. "They're not answering." "Of course they're not answering," the Hive Queen buzzed nervously. "They're trying to scare us into agreeing to their impossible demands." The crystal being's light was very dim now. What if they're not bluffing? What if they really meant it? "Then we're all dead," Rexthani said simply. He walked back to his seat and slumped down. For the first time since anyone had known him, the powerful counselor looked small and defeated. Dr. Yuna Kim walked quickly down the corridor toward the docking bay. Behind her, Tay Wilson and Mina Rodriguez carried the last of their equipment. Han Schmidt was already at their ship, preparing for departure. "Any second thoughts?" Tay asked as they walked. "No," Dr. Kim replied. "We gave them every chance. We showed them the truth about the plague, about themselves, about us. They chose pride over survival." "Some of them wanted to accept our terms," Mina pointed out. "Some isn't enough," Dr. Kim said sadly. "The plague doesn't care about good intentions. As long as the major powers keep expanding aggressively, it will keep spreading." They reached the docking bay where their ship waited. It looked like a simple transport vessel, gray, practical, with no weapons visible. To alien eyes, it appeared harmless. This was intentional. Han Schmidt was already at the controls when they boarded. "All systems ready for departure." "Should I send the usual signals?" Dr. Kim nodded. "Begin the withdrawal protocol." Back in the council chamber, chaos was starting to spread. Delegates were shouting into their communication devices, trying to reach their governments. Others were pacing back and forth, arguing with each other about what to do next. "We should send security forces to stop them," the Zephyrian chancellor suggested. His tentacles were moving rapidly, a sign of extreme stress. "With what?" Rexthani asked bitterly. "They just told us they have weapons that can destroy planets. Do you really want to test them?" "They could be lying about that too," the trade minister said, but he didn't sound convinced. Professor Khan looked up from his communication device. "I'm picking up energy signatures from the human ship. They're preparing to leave? Then stop them." Several aliens shouted at once. "How?" Professor Khan asked. "Even if we could stop their ship, there are still human colonies all over the galaxy. They could just send the information somewhere else." The crystal being made a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Maybe we should try to contact them one more time." "Offer them better terms?" "What better terms?" the Hive Queen asked. "They want us to destroy our entire civilization." "Maybe that's not such a bad idea," Professor Khan said quietly. This made everyone in the room turn to look at him. Rexthani's 6 eyes burned with anger. "Professor, are you seriously suggesting we should surrender everything to these humans?" "I'm suggesting we should listen to them," Professor Khan replied. "Look at the facts. They have technology we can't match. They have territories we didn't even know existed. They've been watching us for thousands of years without us knowing, and they claim to have seen this pattern hundreds of times before." "So?" the trade minister snapped. "So maybe they know what they're talking about?" The Hive Queen's wings buzzed angrily. "You want us to trust the word of aliens who have been lying to us for centuries?" "I want us to trust the evidence," Professor Khan said. "The plague is real. It targets aggressive species. The humans have the cure. These are facts, not opinions. The fact is that they're trying to destroy us," Rexthani declared. "They want to rule the galaxy, so they created a weapon that forces us to submit or die." "But if they wanted to rule us, why not just attack?" the crystal being asked. "They showed us their real military power. They could have conquered us all long ago." Because this way is cleaner, the trade minister suggested. No messy battles. No destroyed infrastructure, just submission through fear. Or, Professor Khan said, maybe they really are trying to save us from ourselves. Before anyone could respond, alarms started ringing throughout the space station. Red lights flashed in the corridors. An automated voice began speaking in galactic standard. Attention all personnel. Massive energy discharge detected in Docking Bay 7. All personnel maintain safe distance. The aliens looked at each other with growing fear. That's where the human ship was docked, Professor Khan said. They all rushed to the viewing ports that looked out onto the docking bay. Through the thick transparent metal, they could see the human ship rising slowly from its landing pad. But something was wrong. The ship was glowing. A soft blue light surrounded the entire vessel, pulsing like a heartbeat. As they watched, the light grew brighter and began to spread outward, creating a dome of energy around the ship. What is that? The Zephyrian Chancellor whispered. Shielding, Professor Khan said, but like nothing we've ever seen. The ship continued to rise. When it reached the bay doors, something impossible happened. Instead of waiting for the doors to open, the ship simply passed through them. The metal doors didn't break or melt. The ship just moved through them like they weren't there. Impossible, Vrexthani breathed. Phase technology, Professor Khan sighed, his voice full of awe. They can shift their molecular structure to pass through solid matter. The ship cleared the station and moved into open space. The blue glow around it intensified and suddenly it was gone. Not just moving fast? Actually gone, like it had never been there? How? The crystal being chimed. How did they disappear like that? Teleportation, Professor Khan said. Or dimensional shifting, or some technology we don't even have words for. The aliens stood in stunned silence, staring out at the empty space where the human ship had been. The reality of what they had just witnessed was sinking in. They weren't bluffing, the Hive Queen said quietly, were they? Before anyone could answer, more alarms began ringing. These were different alarms, communication alerts from across the galaxy. The trade minister grabbed his communication device. His scales went white as he listened to the message. Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures around the Sol system. The entire star system it's surrounded by some kind of barrier. What kind of barrier? Vrexthani demanded. Unknown. Our best scientists can't even scan it. It's like the whole system just disappeared. More messages started coming in. Human colonies throughout the galaxy were activating defensive systems that made the barrier around Sol look simple. Bases that had been hidden for centuries were suddenly visible on sensors, bristling with weapons that defied understanding. They're showing us their real power, Professor Khan said. All of it. The crystal being's light flickered weakly. Why now? Why reveal everything now? Because they're done pretending, Professor Khan replied. They gave us a choice and we chose wrong? Now they're showing us what we gave up. Vrexthani slammed his fists on the viewing port. This is impossible. No species can have this much hidden technology. Apparently they can, the trade minister said, reading more reports from his device. Our spy networks are reporting total communication blackout with all human territories. It's like they just left? The Zephyrian Chancellor asked. Withdrew from galactic civilization, Professor Khan explained. They're cutting all ties with us. The realization hit them all at once. The humans weren't just leaving the negotiations. They were leaving completely, pulling out of every trade agreement, every treaty, every contact they had with alien species. They can't do this, the Hive Queen buzzed frantically. We have agreements. Contracts, legal obligations. With who? Professor Khan asked quietly. We just learned that everything we thought we knew about them was wrong. How can we enforce contracts with a species that we never really knew? The crystal being made a sound like breaking glass. We've lost them. We've lost our only chance at survival. No, Vrexthani said, but his voice was not confident. They'll be back. They have to come back. They won't just let billions of people die, won't they? Professor Khan asked. They said they've watched hundreds of species make this same choice. Maybe they've learned that some species can't be saved. The trade minister looked up from his communication device. His face was pale with fear. I'm getting reports of plague outbreaks in 3 more systems. The infection rate is accelerating. How long? The crystal being asked. 6 weeks, maybe less. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of the air recyclers and the distant alarms. Outside the viewing port, space looked empty and cold. No human ships, no friendly signals. Just, darkness and the slow approach of death. 3 hours after the humans disappeared, the galaxy began to understand what it had lost. High Counselor Vrexthani sat alone in his private chambers, staring at a datapad that showed reports from across the Dominion Empire. His 4 hands shook as he read each message. His 6 eyes, usually bright with confidence and anger, were now dim with growing fear. Intelligence Report Number 1. All human trade routes have gone silent. Economic impact projected at 23% loss of imperial revenue. Intelligence Report Number 2. Human. Colonies in Sectors 7, 12, and 18 have activated previously unknown defensive systems. Our spy ships cannot approach within 10 light years. Intelligence Report Number 3. Deep space monitoring stations report massive energy signatures around human territories. Nature of energy unknown. Recommend immediate investigation. But it was the 4th report that made Vrexthani's blood run cold. Intelligence Report Number 4. Analysis of human technological demonstrations suggests we have severely underestimated their capabilities. Request immediate reassessment of all previous assumptions about human military and industrial capacity. Vrexthani threw the datapad across the room. It hit the wall and shattered into pieces. Fools, he whispered to himself. We are all fools. On the Arcalian homeworld, Trade Minister Kekstar was having a very bad day. His scales had been bright red with stress for hours as reports poured in from across the Federation. Sir, his aide said nervously, we've lost contact with all human trading partners. That's 40% of our intersystem commerce. Replace them, Kekstar snapped. Find new trading partners? Sir, the humans weren't just trading partners. They were providing us with technology we can't make ourselves. Advanced computer systems, medical equipment, energy generators. Kekstar's scales turned pale. What do you mean we can't make them ourselves? The aide looked down at his feet. Sir, we've been reverse engineering human technology for decades, but we never figured out how it actually works. We just learned to copy it, without human technical support. Without human technical support, what? Our most advanced facilities will start breaking down within months. Maybe weeks. Kekstar sat down heavily in his chair. The Arcalian Trade Federation prided itself on being independent and self-sufficient. To learn that they had been dependent on human technology without even knowing it was like discovering that they had been children playing at being adults. How? He whispered. How did we not know? In the crystal cities of the Nexari homeworld, something even worse was happening. The crystal beings communicated through harmonic frequencies, and right now those frequencies were full of fear and confusion. The humans have been listening to our private communications for centuries, one being chimed sadly. Every song we thought was secret, every private conversation, every government planning session. How do we know this? Another asked. Because when they left, the interference patterns that hid their monitoring equipment disappeared. Our technicians found listening devices built into the very walls of our cities. Devices so advanced we can't even understand how they work. The harmonic frequency of the entire city shifted to a deep, mournful tone. If they could hear everything, why didn't they use the information against us? Maybe, chimed a very old crystal being, they didn't need to. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Hive Queen was discovering that her vast insect empire had problems of its own. Her scout ships, the fastest vessels in the galaxy, had tried to investigate the defensive barriers around human territories. They couldn't even get close. Your Majesty, the humans have surrounded their territories with some kind of spatial distortion field. When our ships try to approach, space itself seems to bend around them. We end up traveling in circles always. moving away from human space no matter which direction we fly. That's impossible. Yes, Your Majesty. But it's happening anyway. The Hive Queen's mandibles clicked rapidly. What about our spies on human worlds? Gone, Your Majesty, all of them. Vanished without a trace. Dead? Unknown. They just stopped existing in any way we can detect. The Hive Queen was silent for a long time. Her species had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of infiltration and espionage. The idea that all of their carefully placed spies could simply disappear was terrifying, but the worst discoveries were yet to come. Professor Khan sat in his small office on the Academic Republic's capital world, surrounded by data screens and historical records. As the galaxy's leading expert on ancient civilizations, he had been tasked with answering a simple question. How much did the humans really know? The answer, he was discovering, was everything. Computer, cross-reference human diplomatic records with archaeological data from extinct civilizations. The computer hummed for several minutes, processing vast amounts of information. When it finished, the results made Professor Khan's gray skin turn even grayer. Cross-reference complete. Human diplomatic statements show detailed knowledge of 347 extinct civilizations, including 89 species not previously known to exist. Show me the details. Data filled the screens around him. References to wars that had happened before his species had developed writing. Mentions of technologies that current galactic civilization thought were impossible. Descriptions of planetary disasters that had destroyed entire star systems millions of years ago. Computer, how could humans know about these extinct civilizations? Unknown. However, analysis suggests three possibilities. 1. Humans have access to archaeological sites unknown to galactic science. 2. Humans have time travel capabilities. 3. Humans are significantly older as a spacefaring species than previously believed. Professor Khan leaned back in his chair. Any one of those possibilities was frightening. All three together were almost too much to comprehend. Computer, display current galactic population estimates. New numbers appeared on the screens. The total population of all known galactic civilizations was approximately 2.7 trillion sentient beings across 50,000 star systems. Now display human population estimates based on new data. The numbers changed. According to the latest intelligence reports, human population was somewhere around 50 billion. But that was just on Earth and the colonies they had allowed other species to know about. Computer, estimate total human population including hidden territories revealed in the past 24 hours. The computer worked for a long time. When it finished, the number that appeared made Professor Khan gasp. Estimated human population, 800 billion to 1. 2 trillion individuals. The humans weren't a minor species. They were potentially the largest single civilization in the galaxy, and they had been hiding it for thousands of years. Why? Professor Khan whispered to himself. Why hide all this? Power? As if in answer to his question, his communication device chimed with an incoming message. It was from the Galactic Archives, the repository of all historical knowledge. Professor Khan, you need to see this. We found something in the deep archives. Something about the plague pattern. Professor Khan hurried to the archives where the chief librarian was waiting with a very old data crystal. We found this in a sealed vault, the librarian explained. It's a message from a species called the Veltari. They lived about 50,000 years ago. Veltari, Professor Khan repeated, like the Veltar plague. Exactly like it. Professor, I think they might be the ones who created the plague. They inserted the crystal into a reader. Ancient symbols appeared on the screen, along with a translation that made both scholars step backward in shock. To whoever finds this message, we are the Veltari. We were once like you, proud, expanding, taking what we wanted from the galaxy. We thought we were strong. We thought we were wise. We were wrong. The message continued. When our expansion brought us into contact with the Watchers, we laughed at their warnings. They told us to slow down, to share instead of taking, to cooperate instead of conquering. We refused. We were too proud to listen. The Watchers left us alone for a time. They hoped we would learn. We did not. So they activated the weapon we had forced them to create. A plague that would teach us what we refused to learn willingly. By the time we understood, it was too late. Our empire fell. Our people died. But before the end, the Watchers came to us one last time. They offered us a choice: die with our pride or live with wisdom. We chose pride. We died, but we left. This message as a warning to those who come after us. The Watchers are patient, but they are not infinite. They will give you chances to change. Do not waste them as we did. The weapon we forced them to create is now part of the galaxy's immune system. When a species grows too aggressive, too fast, too proud to listen to wisdom, the weapon activates. This is not cruelty. This is medicine for a sick galaxy. Learn from our mistake. When the Watchers offer you guidance, listen. When they offer you a choice, choose wisely. They are not your enemies. They are trying to save you from becoming what we became. The message ended. Professor Khan and the librarian sat in stunned silence. The Watchers, Professor Khan whispered. The humans are the Watchers. Across the galaxy, similar discoveries were being made. Ancient warnings found in ruins that nobody had paid attention to before. References to a species that guided young civilizations away from destructive paths. Stories of beings who appeared when expansion became too aggressive, offering wisdom that was usually ignored.